Coming to the 2017 A-level question. Explain how a significant rise in the general price level can affect the current account of the BOP. This can be a question even relevant to the current context. Even in 2022-23, given that there was inflation, they can ask. So how does a rise in the general price level, Lamai, affect your current account of your BOP? Tell me this. So if the prices in your country increase, if the prices increase, what can happen to your export competitiveness? Whatever that you export now, export competitiveness decreases, right? Why? Because of the fact that in your country there is high levels of inflation, your export prices have increased. So your export prices have increased. So when your export prices have increased, now compared to other countries, your goods are expensive. Your export competitiveness has come down. You can't, it's very hard for you to compete with other countries because your goods are very high priced. So when export competitiveness and all decreases, Lamai, given that let's say your exports are elastic, what would happen? The demand for your exports, demand for exports will decrease or will reduce. So as a result, you can say export earnings come down. You can say that due to an increase in price. On the same side, Lamai, what about imports? What about your imports? When you talk about when in your country, if there is very high levels of inflation, what would people do? People would prefer importing cheaper goods from abroad, no? In your country, when there is high levels of inflation, what will consumers prefer to do? They will prefer to import cheaper goods. They will prefer to import cheaper. Now, you have tried the whole story, yeah? So, if they are going to import cheaper goods from abroad, in that context, what is going to happen? Your imports will increase. So, import expenditure increases. So then overall, tell me, Lamai, when export earnings come down and import expenditure increases, what effect will that have in your BOP current account or even in your trade account? That could lead to a current account deficit. No, it can, maybe if there is a deficit, it will widen your deficit. If there is surplus, it will reduce your deficit. So you can say this will be unfavorable for your BOP current account. Or in other words, you can say it will widen the deficit. You can talk about that. But then along with that, Lamai, if you want, you can give an additional final line. Lamai, if the BOP deficit widens, what will happen to your exchange rate? Yes, all of this given that Marshall-Lerner condition is met. Okay? If your BOP deficit widens, what happens to your exchange rate? Your exchange rate will start to depreciate. Exchange rate depreciate. If you want, you can go further and say, now, right now there is a deficit. No? So now that is the BOP automatically balancing story. So there is a BOP deficit, exchange rate will depreciate. So when exchange rate depreciates, then what happens? Again, on the other side, exports now become cheap. When exchange rate depreciates, exports become cheap. Imports become expensive. Then that deficit will get eliminated in the long run. That's the BOP automatically balancing story. So you can, if you want, you can give a line about that also, but I feel that's maybe not needed. Or if you want, you can just add, no problem. So you can say in the long run, what will happen? Because of this depreciation, exports become expensive, exports become expensive, imports become cheaper, and as a result, given that Marshall-Lerner condition holds, the BOP deficit or the current account deficit can be eliminated. That's in the long run. Nah? Don't, even if you don't try to, that's completely fine. As long as you mainly talk about the import-export story, how export competitiveness is lost, how more and more cheaper goods will now be imported, and as a result, that will be unfavorable for your BOP current account. That should be fine. Okay. Should be the opposite. Exchange rate depreciates. Sorry. Exchange rate depreciates. Imports, exports become cheaper. Imports become expensive. Therefore, your BOP deficit gets eliminated. Okay. So you can talk about that story, but again, Lamai, you have to learn to write in your own words. I'm explaining in my own words. Your writing will only be good if you keep on practicing writing. These are not hard questions, but you have to write nice answers. So the only way to write nice answers is to keep on writing and writing and writing and writing answers. Done. Okay. Question number 4. Explain what is the meaning of external stability. They're only giving 2 marks. So that means you don't have to write pages and pages. So what is external stability, Lamai? External stability is about having, let's say, your BOP, right? Your BOP kind of being balanced. BOP being balanced. Having your exchange rate stable. Exchange rate stable. That is what you call external stability. Now, BOP balance means, Lamai, or even your current account balance should not have like big deficits. You should have enough money to pay for your imports. For example, let's say Sri Lanka earns 10 billion from export. So then maybe if our imports are also 10 billion, then no problem. We have enough money to go through to we are earning from exports and enough money to pay off your import. Stability. Now in Sri Lanka, that's not the case, Nilamai. We export 10 billion, we import 20 billion. So we have deficit. So as a result, then the exchange rate starts depreciating. Exchange rate doesn't become stable. That is instability. So what is external stability? External stability is about, number one, having stability in your BOP, meaning you should have enough money to finance your expenditure. You should generate enough income, especially through your exports and all, to finance your import expenditure. If you can do that, then what happens? Your exchange rate becomes stable, because the moment you have deficits in the BOP only, Lamai, exchange rate depreciates. So if you have enough money, then you should be completely fine. So that story is what you have to explain for 2 marks. So we practice writing without taking much time to go through theory. Yes, by now that has to be your pride, right? I'm guessing, I know with the mock exam series and all, we have even finished doing papers and doing all the past papers. But if you have still not even started past papers, high time to get started with past papers. You only have 3 weeks to go. Stop studying theory and writing. Get into writing. Otherwise, you all will lose out. Yes, fine. Right. Then Lamai, question number 5. State briefly the potential benefits of regaining GSP plus duty concession for Sri Lankan exports in the European Union. What is this GSP plus duty concession? Lamai, one of Sri Lanka's biggest export markets is the European Union. Okay? So you all know, whenever Lamai, one country exports, the other country will put tariffs on that. Now in Sri Lanka also, now whenever, let's say, China exports something to our country, that means we are importing. When we import, we put no import duty, import tariff, this tax, that tax we put. So a GSP duty concession is whenever Sri Lanka exports to the European Union, let's say our garments, our tea, whenever we export certain goods, they don't tax at all. There is no duty. Certain goods they tax less. So as a result, what happened? As a result, now for the European Union, it's much more cheaper. The people in European Union countries, it's cheaper to buy Sri Lankan imports. Why? Sri Lankan imports have the duty concession. Now, maybe if they're buying it from another country, they have to pay that duty also. Let's say they're buying t-shirts. So if they're buying t-shirts, now in Sri Lanka, t-shirt is 1,000 rupee. Let's say there is only a 5% tariff. Then 1,000 rupee becomes 1,000 rupees, 1,050. Let's say they're buying an Indian t-shirt. Let's say there's a 30% tariff. Then Indian t-shirt 1,000 becomes 1,300. So because of this duty concession, some goods are tariffed less, some goods are tariffed higher. Sorry, some goods are not tariffed at all. So obviously, that's a benefit. So what kind of benefits you can write, Lamai? You can write Sri Lankan exports becoming cheaper for them. Okay. So if Sri Lankan exports become cheap, you can talk about Sri Lanka's export revenue increasing. You can talk about GSP's general standard of preference. General standard for preference or something. Okay. Then export revenue increasing. You can talk about how Sri Lankan export companies, can grow. They can grow now because of this duty concession. Now they have huge demand for their goods, so they can expand. They can expand means you can even talk about more employment opportunities that they can create. You can talk about this can help with earning foreign essential foreign reserves to the country. You can talk about how you can keep the exchange rate stable. You can talk about things like that. Again, let me just show you a small article here, Lamai. Sri Lanka GSP duty concession. Okay. We regained this duty concession recently. Okay. Here see. On this is in August. In August this year here. The article says GSP plus a major boost for the export economy. Okay. So here they say here. So we have got so now Lama, this concession is not like a forever thing. It's like for a certain years. So what Sri Lanka does is every time we extend it. Now, for example, they give us a GSP duty concession for 4 years. So let's say now in 2023 it's expiring. So then again we have to negotiate with them, tell look here we have been doing good. So can you extend this? That kind of a thing is how it works. Yes. In the view of the ongoing crisis, it is crucial to seek an extension for GSP plus tariff concession for an additional 4 years until December this year. If I'm not mistaken, we actually got that duty concession. This thing. So yeah, I can't find the article relevant to that. So in simple terms, let me remember, Sri Lanka's duty concession GSP Plus was supposed to expire in 2023. We got a small extension. I'm not sure if we got a 4-year extension or at least a 1-year extension we got. That means still we are covered under this GSP Plus concession. Okay. Yes. So they give you a duty concession. On certain goods, they tariff less. Compared to other countries, they tax your goods less. For certain goods, they don't tariff at all. Have we got a 4-year one? Is that confirmed? I don't know. Check. So we would have got I know we got an extension. I can't remember how many years of an extension that we got. I think we requested for 4 years. I don't know if we got 4 years or we got less than that, but we got it extended. So even right now, we do have the GSP plus concession. So even that it's been extended can be a little bit of a, yes, we get it from the European Union. Okay. Can be a small current context question if they really want. Now, even in 2017, GSP Plus was a very hot topic. I remember even when, now this is the year that I did A levels, even whoever teachers who taught me also told me, definitely going to be a current context that year. And it came. Because in 2017, it was a hot topic. Right now, I feel there are more hot topics than the GSP Plus concession to ask. But You never know what the examiner is thinking. Okay, right. So that's the story there.